All right, ladies and gentlemen, as the Joker would say. Just a reminder, the Joker is currently on lockdown. You cannot select him. He is a very complex villain to diagnose, so we want to wait until we're ready for him. As you know, we've already done Scarecrow, we've already done Mr. Freeze, we're about to finish Two-Face, so that leaves Catwoman and Penguin, and the Riddler and Superman. And right now, as it is, the votes that have been turned in is tied for Superman and the Riddler. So I'm kind of waiting to see what exactly happens there. Maybe it will change by the time I'm done giving today's Two-Face and Batman stuff. So, with that being said, let's finish Two-Face. Hopefully you enjoyed the episodes with him. I think the episode does a pretty good job of pretty blatantly and obviously coming right out and saying this is the disorder that he has. Of course, that's really only in the animated series that he has that disorder, but still, right? Still. So Harvey Dent, we looked at him yesterday. You've watched the episodes. Hunky dory, everything's good. So let's diagnose him. So Two-Face in the animated show shows strong signs of dissociative identity disorder. This is, however, one of the few occurrences that he actually does. So it's the animated series version of Two-Face's origin, integrated multiple personality in a way that made some sense, showing that Harvey Dent always had a bad Harvey inside him, or Big Bad Harv, as he's called in the episode, wanting to get out and brought out by trauma. The Two-Face moment, Whenever he got half his face blown off, Big Bad Harv emerged as a true and full personality. But as you saw in that scene with the psychologist, she straight up talks to Big Bad Harv and she accesses the other personality. And that's the thing about dissociative identity disorder. It needs to be a completely separate identity, right? It doesn't mean like if Bruce Wayne puts on a Batman costume that he has dissociative identity disorder. No, it's a complete 100% change. Like, and the episode actually shows a pretty good job of that. Like, when he's Big Bad Harv, he's Big Bad Harv. It's like a whole nother personality. When Batman puts on a costume, he's still Bruce Wayne in personality and thought in really every way. Some people with dissociative identity disorder, it's so intense that they can actually change which hand is dominant. That's how separate the personalities can be. There are even some people that supposedly their eyesight changes, that somebody that would need glasses with one personality, whenever they switch to the other personality, they no longer need glasses. Like, they've done eye tests and like with the letters and everything. So like when Batman puts on a costume, it's just him putting on a costume. But with Harvey Dent, when he switches to Big Bad Harv, everything changes. Like, everything. Harvey Dent is a good guy. Big Bad Harv is a guy that talks like this. He's like, well, what's the girl? I can't remember what his girlfriend's name is, but it's Rachel in the Batman movie. But of course, in the Batman movie, Batman talks like that. He's like, I'm Batman. Point the gun at the ones who are responsible. You got that deep Batman voice. But, point is, it's a complete separate personality. So, they come right out in the episode and say it. He has dissociative identity disorder in the episode. The treatment for that would be psychotherapy and hypnosis. Medication can be helpful in managing emotional symptoms that sometimes occur with DID. Caution is exercised, however, when it is prescribed in order to avoid mixing to avoid making the individual feel re-traumatized by feeling controlled. This would take the specific form of antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication, and or antipsychotic drugs are often tried on people with dissociative identity disorder. I had to look that up on the official psychology online manual because the author didn't say what drug specifically, so I had to go and find that. Now, in terms of his sanity, the question revolves around, he does, when he flips that coin, that's his justification, right? He definitely uses the coin as a justification for wrongdoing. Like, well, I'm not going to decide if you live or die. We're going to let chance, we're going to let fate decide whether or not you live or die because, as he says, it's unbiased, unprejudiced, fair. You have a 50-50 shot, right? So he does kind of like use that as an excuse for some sociopathic behavior. However, I do think that the evidence of the coin, the fact that he does have the coin, does show that the fact that he feels that he needs to have the coin does show that he does have some semblance of understanding that what he's doing is wrong. And I really think with Harvey Dent, with Two-Face, he's probably the villain that is most aware that what he's doing is wrong. You can even see it on his face in the episode. He has regret. He thinks about his girlfriend. He knows what he's doing isn't good. He's just angry, right? So he's one of the few villains where I don't really think that there's a good case for insanity. I think that even with a good lawyer, you're probably not going to be able to convince the court that he is insane. Now, if you're thinking obsessive compulsive disorder, there is an argument for that with the coin flipping. It's not quite there because it's not like a compulsion and an obsession. Like he doesn't have to flip it like 4 times. It's more of like just like his fad. You know what I mean? But obsessive compulsive disorder is a good guess if you were thinking along those lines. But yes, he definitely has dissociative identity disorder. Medication would be psychotherapy, hypnosis, and maybe a combination of experimenting with antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, and or antipsychotic drugs. And he is sane. Okay? Going back to our rogues gallery, we want to go up to where we are. Oh, it's actually loading on the side today. It's a miracle. Be very careful not to spoil things when I'm scrolling through the slides. So the question we're going to look at today is why all the costume freaks? This artwork in the background is by Greg Capullo, who is honestly probably my second or third favorite artist. I just love his gritty style. He's the guy that draws the very famous comic book where the Joker staples his face back on. If you've seen Gotham, you've probably kind of see them reenact that a little bit. But I'm definitely going to show you guys that comic book whenever we get to that day. So, does Batman inspire these weirdos? Are they there because Batman is there? That's the question. So we have the Sad Affleck gif, which was very popular about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it's 3, maybe 4. I don't know. It's been a while. So are they simply out to steal, or do they seek a challenge or attention? And it's different for each villain. Most of Batman's rogues gallery show extreme behaviors that transcend those of everyday criminals. So it's probably the latter. I think that you probably wouldn't wear a costume like that unless you were wanting to get attention, at least for the villains. We know Batman wears the costume he does not want to have attention necessarily. I mean, he wants to have I guess he would want to be in the news and have attention and that, ooh, what's this creepy vigilante? What is this legend? But he probably is not doing it for personal fame because he doesn't want people to know that he's Batman. But for the Riddler, who's very upfront about who his real identity is, it's all about his ego. It's all about his personality and making a name for himself. And in the effect of Catwoman, it is definitely for a challenge or a thrill. And same thing with Bane. So possible motivations could be personality disorders, which we did look at in the Module 32 notes. Someone with a personality disorder has difficulties so deeply ingrained in who she or he is as a human being that the central problem defines that person. Typically, they blame others for their unhappiness instead of grasping the faults of their own personalities. I had to put this art somewhere in the notes because at one point Batman becomes a Yellow Lantern, which if you know anything about Green Lanterns and Yellow Lanterns, Green Lanterns get their power in the ring from their ability to overcome fear and their willpower. Yellow Lanterns get it from inspiring fear in other people. And that's what Batman does. So it's kind of cool that he would be a Yellow Lantern, albeit briefly, because Yellow Lanterns are villains. But still, you're probably like, wait, what? What does the ring do? Anything they imagine with the ring will project in that spectrum of light. So if you were a Green Lantern and you thought of a tank, your ring would project a tank, and it could shoot at whoever it is you're fighting. Or you could think of a sword and a shield, and you'd have a sword and shield made out of pure willpower. It's pretty cool. I have what I call the Green Lantern Bibles. They're 3 volumes of the Geoff Johns run on Green Lantern. Each one's that thick. I'm just going to go ahead and show you it because it's seriously so thick. This is just 1 out of the 3. I technically do not have the second one yet. I asked for it from my dad and he accidentally bought me the third one. So now I have the first and the third one. So it's pretty thick, but honestly, this is some of the best comic books ever. Like, I'm not a huge Green Lantern person, but then I got this because there was an artist that was telling me about it on Twitter, and I was like, well, I like your art, and you say that you do most of it, so I kind of want to check that out. Come on, where's the good art? It's in here. I wanted to check that out, and so I got it, and reading this definitely made me a pretty big Green Lantern fan. Just looking for a good spot. Oh, that was good. It's very colorful. It's very nice. But the main thing of this volume is Yellow Lanterns versus Green Lanterns, which, you know, is pretty amazing. That's an origin of some Yellow Lanterns. Yeah. So that cover there, that's Sinestro. He's the leader of the Yellow Lanterns. And he's kind of like a really interesting villain because he's almost like kind of like a space Hitler, if you will. So it's very interesting. Very, very good reading. It's a little pricey. You know, that much comic books is going to be a little pricey, but it's really good. So I think it's really cool that Batman becomes a Yellow Lantern, albeit briefly. I think that happens during the Blackest Night event, which would be the second book of that, which I don't have, but I could be wrong. Anyway, that was a tangent. So we're going to cover a new disorder, which we were not able to cover during the Unit 4 notes because it was not in the textbook. And that is narcissistic personality disorder. And in order to give an example of that, it would be Black Mask. If you've seen the Birds of Prey movie, Black Mask is the villain in that movie, and he definitely has this disorder in that movie. And man, his death is so intense in that movie. Oh my gosh. You know, other than that, I actually like that movie. But they possess excessive aspirations for their own lives and intense resentment for others whom they perceive as more successful, beautiful, or brilliant. They are preoccupied with and driven to achieve their own goals and think nothing of exploiting others in order to do so. Despite their show of grand self-importance, they are often troubled by self-doubt, shows antisocial tendencies. A lot of times people with this disorder might be wrongly classified as antisocial personality disorder. So it's like if they have antisocial behaviors, but they're motivated out of narcissism, which is basically like a super ego, like you're just really obsessed with yourself. I think we all know people where it's like, man, they really think the earth revolves around them. I've had a lot of students like that. It's like they're honestly confused that I can't drop everything just to focus on just them. It's like the world doesn't revolve around you. You're going to have some independence and figure this out a little bit. I can't hold your hand the whole way. You are not the savior of the universe. Well, people with narcissistic personality disorder, they tend to think that, yes, they are the center of the universe. They are God's gift to the world. They are the best thing since sliced bread. And they typically don't really value friendships with other people because they see friendships more as a way to increase their power and their influence and their popularity. So people are kind of more like objects to them, which is something you would also see in antisocial personality disorder. So basically, narcissistic personality disorder, which, by the way, narcissistic is a pretty good vocab word if you want to sound smart. They are people that have super egos, like they're just obsessed with themselves. A lot of celebrities might have that, I think, because they certainly seem to like to listen to themselves talk. The next disorder that we did actually, well, no, actually we didn't get to it in module 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, any of those. And that is one of my personal favorites, histrionic personality disorder. This is like the theatrically melodramatic people. While the narcissist expects to be the center of everyone's world, the histrionic person does not expect attention and therefore frantically and perpetually strives to get it. Typically lies a lot to be liked, changes the story to get more attention. Both of these personality disorders are typically fade with age. They're typically kind of called the disorders of immaturity. These narcissistic and melodramatic disorders could cause some of Batman's rogues to do what they do. Now, I actually knew somebody. It was not officially, he's not officially diagnosed with it, but I would be willing to put like a substantial sum of money on a wager that he would definitely, at least when I knew him, classify as having this disorder. Like he fits it to the T. All the criteria, I mean, it is to the T. This guy, you know, he didn't expect attention from other people, so he would make up stories. He even changed his laugh. Okay, there was somebody else in this group of friends that had a very unique laugh, and everybody always talked about how much they loved his laugh. Well, the kid with the histrionic personality disorder changed his laugh and would do, like, you know, when people fake laugh, like they're laughing, but they're like, it's like a forced laughter. So he changed his laugh to be like that guy's laugh, the laugh that everybody liked, so that people would give him more attention. He made up a story about losing his virginity to a prostitute in Chicago. I mean, every time you met the guy, he had some new story that you're like, I don't know if I believe that, or it was always a pity case. He was always trying to get attention. Whenever he told us the prostitute story, we were with him riding. It was just me, my wife, and him on a like 8-hour car ride to like the tippy top of Michigan for a wedding. And that's when he was telling us all these things. I'm just like, so either he's making this story up to get attention, or he straight up went out and got a prostitute and lost his virginity to a prostitute just so that he would have a story to tell people to get attention. That is what a histrionic personality disorder looks like. They're going to extreme lengths to get attention to the point that it controls their life and they can't function like a normal person. Yes, and it was very uncomfortable. He was very awkward. People like this typically are very annoying, right? They lie a lot to get attention. Sometimes I think my twin brother might have had that when he was younger. Anyway, I won't get into that, but anyway. Next thing might be sensation seeking. Some of Batman's rogues do it for the thrills, like Catwoman. like whenever we analyze Catwoman, we're not actually looking for a disorder because it's very clear that she doesn't have one. So, I mean, we're more looking at like the psychology of love when we look at Catwoman. Penguin, we're looking for a disorder though. So yeah, she puts on a costume, she goes and leaps from roofs and fights criminals. She's definitely a thrill seeker, right? By putting on a mask, they transcend the mundane reality and enter the world of living legends. All right, so tomorrow we're going to look at the Madhouse, What Insanity, and that will include Harley Quinzel. You probably noticed that she is missing from the Rogues Gallery slide, which is where you have your options to pick from. And that is because she kind of fits perfectly into this part of the notes. So that is where I put her. So tomorrow we will not be doing a villain from the Rogues Gallery. We will be instead looking at Harley Quinn. All right. So yeah. Good deal. Good deal. With her, I also include the Mad Hatter. We don't watch an episode on the Mad Hatter. We do watch an episode for Harley Quinn. The episode that gave her her origin. And since she doesn't appear in comic books, that is her pure origin. I also include Clayface, Ra's al Ghul, Man-Bat, and Killer Croc, and I think maybe one other. Just to kind of give a few other miscellaneous villains that are not brought up in the book, but they do exist. Professor Pig's another one. Just kind of show you that there are more villains. But we don't watch episodes on any of those. Tomorrow's episode is going to be on Harley Quinn. Her diagnosis is pretty easy if you've been paying attention. If you have a good handle on your disorders, you should be able to pick up on it pretty quickly. And by the way, there are narcissistic personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. We do have villains in the roster that have those disorders. One per disorder. So one or two of the villains that we have yet to do have one of those disorders that we learned about today. Okay, let's go down to the Rogues Gallery. Okay. So it seems that the Riddler has pulled ahead. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do the Riddler today. And I'm kind of a little bit relieved with that because normally with Superman I show the movie Batman vs. is not available on any streaming services. So in replacement of that, I mean I've watched all the animated DC stuff, so it shouldn't be a surprise to you that I have a backup. There is a 3-episode arc in the Superman the Animated Series where Batman and Superman meet. And I would say Batman vs. Superman is better. It's one of my favorite movies. But, and I could totally give you an option of doing either. You could watch Batman vs. Superman or the episodes. I'll give you guys options if you wanted to rent Batman vs. Superman and watch it instead. But anyway, I digress. On the day that we do Superman, I would like to give you the whole day because it is 3 episodes or a movie. I don't want to make you do notes and a discussion thing on that same day. So I am kind of relieved that we're getting the Riddler today, which will pretty much leave just Catwoman, Penguin, and Superman. I'm just going to go and tell you, I usually save the Joker for last because it leaves some kind of level of anticipation to the unit. Once the Joker's done, it's kind of it kind of feels anticlimactic. So yeah, let's introduce the Riddler. Okay, the Riddler's real name is Edward Nygma. Now, if you put his initial with the last name, Enigma, enigma is another word for riddle. So, he's really obsessed with riddles. Now, if you really want, my favorite live-action version of the Riddler is not Jim Carrey, although that is what it is. I think Gotham actually does a really good job with the Riddler. Through the whole show, I think in the later seasons he loses some of his like well doneness, because I think when shows go on too long, that just naturally happens. But I think the first few seasons, the Riddler is perfectly done. They get a little weird with his relationship with Penguin. That's not comic accurate, and that I'm all about comic accuracy in that department. But he is a very cool villain. He's very well done in the Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City games. So his origin's pretty simple. He's a guy that grows up loving to solve puzzles and riddles, and he's very intelligent. That's it. Crime is no fun without riddles, he says. I'll have you know, that's the main reason I took up the crime game. He has a very intense ego. He seeks to prove that he is better than Batman. That's his entire motivation. Once he discovers who Batman is, the world's greatest detective, he then sees that as a challenge to his own intelligence and importance. So all of his crimes revolve around proving that he's smarter than Batman, because he considers himself the smartest man in the world until he meets Batman. And so he seeks to, defeat Batman with his riddles. But the thing is, the Riddler has to always leave a riddle or a puzzle or a hint, which Batman always ends up solving, so that he can, he always beats the Riddler because the Riddler has to leave a clue. I will say, as you move on to diagnosing the Riddler, there are two disorders present, so you'll want to guess both of them. So we have a riddle here. It is the Riddler. Think you're smart? Think you can challenge the intellect of the Riddler? To proceed, you must solve the riddle. I have billions of eyes, yet I live in darkness. I have millions of ears, yet only 4 lobes. I have no muscle, yet I rule 2 hemispheres. What am I? If you can answer that without Googling it, bravo. If we were in class together, I would have you take guesses, and you would have to guess it to move on in the Riddler. But because we can't really do that, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, because that's actually a pretty easy riddle. The brain. Okay, this is his appearance. Okay, that's what he looks like in Gotham. This is the guy, if you don't know, Robert Pattinson has been cast as the Batman recently, and they are working on the Robert Pattinson Batman, and this man here was recently cast as the Riddler. I believe that the new Batman movie is largely following the Long Halloween storyline, which again is my absolute favorite comic book ever. Watchmen's a close second, but the Long Halloween is just perfection detective. It is the most perfect Batman comic book ever. A lot of the Dark Knight was inspired off of it. If you know how good the Dark Knight is, then that should tell you how good this comic book is. But they obviously don't want to make the comic book exactly. They don't want to make the movie exactly like the comic book, so they're changing up who the villain is, and so they're putting the Riddler as one of the main villains, as well as Penguin and Catwoman. And I don't think there's anybody else, though there are rumors. It's just a rumor, but I would be really interested in seeing this, that Johnny Depp could be playing the Joker in the Robert Pattinson Batman movies. I think Johnny Depp could do some good with that. Him and Willem Dafoe, those would be really great choices for the Joker, in my opinion. I mean, Joaquin did it very well, but that's a very different kind of Joker than what the comic book Joker is like. So, yeah. Okay. I do have another riddle for you tomorrow. Let's see, which one is it? I want to see which one it is. Oh yeah, that's a good riddle. I do have another riddle for you though. If I have 15, it has to equal 15 cents. Well, but I have 2 coins, right? So I have 2 coins and it has to equal 15 cents. one of them cannot be a dime. How do I do it? No, one of them... Yeah, exactly. You can only have 2 coins, and you have to get to 15 cents, and one of them cannot be a dime. It's a really good riddle because it's like, you let the person go on for a while, and then you're like, well, I said one of them couldn't be a dime. I didn't say anything about the other one. Right? So that's a pretty good riddle. So there's only 1 episode for the Riddler. You only have to watch 1. It is honestly one of my favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes, just because it does such a good job with the Riddler. It really is a good representation of the character. And it also makes me excited because I didn't used to have the Riddler as a part of the of this activity, this diagnosis thing. So I don't know, it's like newer than the other ones, so it's still kind of like really, oh my hair, it's still really, it's still new and exciting, So I really like the Riddler as a character too. So enjoy that episode. The notes video is a little shorter today, and I'm glad that I could do that for you. Tomorrow's will also be a little bit shorter, and you'll have Harley Quinn. So there's no voting on what villain you want this time. I don't know if I've shown you guys this hoodie, but it's got my main character on it. It's very comfortable. I had it custom made, selling it on my Indiegogo campaign. Which, before we close out, I actually have the finished cover. This is what it will look like in printed format. 68% is... No. Why can't I go to 68%? Well, anyway. Maybe if I do this. There we go. Okay, good. I think it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. This little weird line here is not on the final edition that I'm actually sending the printers. But yeah, looks pretty good. Pretty proud of it. My uncle did the graphic design on it. My Russian artist did the artwork. The interior will also look pretty amazing too, so it's gonna have this cute monkey on it. Let's see, do I have that up? This is the map I drew. It will go in it as well. So I drew this map and then I had it scanned professionally. This is my world. It's kind of cool because this is just Scotland changed a little bit and then moved on its side. And then this is Iceland, which I have a lot of Icelandic Scandinavian in me. And then this is Ireland minus Northern Ireland because I'm also Irish and Scottish. And you can't see it up there, but there's another continent up there that is Norway. Norway put on its side. So I did that. Drew that myself. Had it scanned. Super fun, but very stressful. And then some of the other illustrations I've had in the past. Where is my monkey? There's my monkey. So this will go inside of the book as a little intro piece of art. It's a cute little monkey with antlers, because why not? Anyway, thought I'd show that off. I'm very proud of it. So have a lovely day. Make sure to answer the discussion questions and watch the Riddler episode. It's very good. One of my favorites. It just does such a good job with the Riddler. I'm probably even going to watch it just because I love the episode that much. I have the episodes so memorized that, because I grew up watching them, that I kind of can make the questions without even watching the episode. But with this one, I kind of want to watch it because I really love this episode. It's not my favorite. I think The Heart of Ice is my favorite episode, but I do really like this one. Peace out, have a lovely day, and take care of yourselves. I will see you tomorrow for Harley Quinn.